Hey guys, welcome back. Do you struggle with mental hurdles when you are trying to pursue a creative or artistic goal? I know I do, so in this video, that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about is not doing anything substantial because you feel like your skills aren't ready yet. So you get stuck in this perpetual loop of trying to improve and study, but never actually stop to produce any actual work. This is something that I am still kind of dealing with. I'm sort of stuck in this loop where I make something and I hate it, so to sort of cure that hate for my shit work, I just keep on trying to learn and get better. But in the meantime, I never actually sit down to create any sort of product or project or anything that has any deep concept behind it. So what I've realized about this is that you will never ever be good enough. The best way to think about it is that you're never going to be good enough. Because if you can just think of that, then you can accept the fact that you're already good enough. So you can have someone who has the most amazing photorealistic drawing skill, and that's fine. But that person probably thinks themselves that they are also not good enough. Like they are still learning certain things and still trying to branch maybe out of that style. You're always going to suck. There's always things to learn. So that's actually a comforting thought, because that means from the very moment that you pick up a pencil, you have a license to already create whatever you want. So if you've never drawn before, you can pick up a piece of paper and start to draw a graphic novel. Sure, the pictures won't be very good, but you could still get the ideas in there, and I could probably look at it and work out what's going on roughly. So there's still a product there. And if the jokes are good, or the story is good, or the concepts behind it are good, then it's probably going to be a good read without even great art skill behind it. That doesn't mean that you can't start making projects because your skills haven't reached this arbitrary level which can't even be defined. So if you want to make something cool, just go for it. Just go out and do it. Some of the stuff that I really, really like, and some of the artists which I really love, you can just tell that there's this element of their work where they're just going for it. They just have these ideas and they're just not giving a shit about any sort of skill level that they're trying to reach or whatever. That's just coming along with the love for making the product that they're making. Whereas I sometimes get stuck at this roadblock where I'm like, what am I doing? I'm a hack. I'm not good enough. You get like imposter syndrome. You just got to try and remind yourself that you're never going to be good enough. And then you may as well just get started making some cool shit. Another mental hurdle is something that I'm struggling with all the time, and I am gradually getting sort of over this hurdle, and that is not doing certain things because you think it is uncool or distasteful. I think this might have something to do with the way that the world is now, where every day we are getting bombarded with a billion different images, different videos, different media, constantly, people's ideas just constantly coming at us, that somehow you subconsciously or either consciously take note of all the criticisms out there that you've seen, all the things that people are saying are cool, that you must do, that are trending, whatever. And there's just so many different things that are trending to different people that you start to lose track of what you actually think is cool, because you're trying to do something which you think is going outside of your comfort zone, and therefore being, I guess what I'm trying to say is that sometimes you might get stuck trying to do things that you don't even like yourself. You might get stuck with this mental hurdle that what you actually make, you don't even really like yourself. Over time, you've accumulated some rules or some sort of ideas in your mind about what you're doing, and you think that you shouldn't even be doing the stuff that you actually just like and you'd put heaps more passion and energy into, because it's actually deep down what you want to do. So what happens is you're looking around at all this stuff and you're like, yeah, that's cool, but I really shouldn't do that because the rest of the world doesn't think it's cool. It's entirely subjective. So the way that I deal with this mental hurdle is to just try and ignore the impulse to try and change the way that you want to do things to please other people. You have to kind of have some level of selfishness when it comes to what you are doing, because you have to stay true to what you are doing. Because if you go off the path and you start to do something which someone else says is cool, you probably aren't going to be doing that with much authenticity, and that's going to rub off in the final product. This other mental hurdle which I want to discuss is making excuses as to why you are not doing something. So you might tell yourself, I don't have enough time to practice, to draw, to make products. You might tell yourself, I'm busy, I've got a job, or I'm not meant to be successful as a creative, whatever. You might tell yourself all this sort of bullshit which is holding you back, and the only person who's telling this stuff is you. No one else is sort of putting any barriers in your way. It's just only in your mind. You'll find yourself sitting there for hours doing like nothing, just thinking about, you just sit there thinking about what you're not doing. And this compounding guilt just makes it even harder to sort of get over it, to get over the hurdle. Is to just start working. And then you start building a momentum. You start doing something, and then you get rewarded on completing your task. So then you just move on to the next one, and then it just snowballs, and the next thing you're just busy doing stuff. Once you start to sit down and tell yourself, I don't have time, I don't have the skill, or all this sort of stuff, you start to push yourself down into a rut, and then it's really hard to get out of. So you constantly have to keep cracking it and keep on doing stuff to sort of get out of it. The other thing with I don't have enough time, for example, is that you do have enough time. You can always make time to do something. There's no you don't have time to do something. You could have 10 kids, a wife, and a full-time job. But if you can still find time to watch a movie or watch a TV show or whatever, play sport or whatever, then you have time to at least draw for a few hours or whatever a week. So even if you're in that extreme situation, I'm pretty sure that you could still find time. But you just tell yourself, I don't have time, to give yourself a free pass. I don't have time to do it. So it makes you feel better about not doing anything. And I am extremely guilty of this, and this is a constant struggle and resistance that I'm trying to fight against. But once you get started and you actually start doing work, then it just gets easier and easier to do more. It's all about just trying to bust out of that jail that you've put yourself in with all the excuses that you're making. Okay, so those are some mental hurdles that I experience, and I hope by talking about it, you can at least get a different perspective on it, a different way of thinking about things, so that you're not stuck in these annoying ruts which is hindering your chances of progressing. Really appreciate you watching this video. Thanks, and if you leave a comment below about mental hurdles that you've come across or that you are struggling with, and we can talk about it there, or I might make another video about it. Anyway, more stuff to come, so yeah, thanks again.